Hey guys, it's the Fancy Ramen Persona 5 Spoilercast.
Woo!
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah!
That's it, man.
That's it,
Finally going down.
Yeah, I've had to wait like a month to do that. Wait, maybe more than a month at this point? How long has the game been out?
April 4th to 10th, something in there.
Yeah, so I think I had it beat early May or something like that.
You're sick.
Yeah. I'm so busy. I got so much to do. I beat Persona in a week.
I worked 70 hours and I beat Persona in 2 days.
So let's do some introductions.
I'll start. I'm Caitlin. I'm going to be Scott's replacement for this episode. I'm actually his sister. Glad to be here. I've played Persona 3 FES, Persona 4, not the golden version, and dabbled a little bit in Persona Q, and now have recently finished Persona 5.
Awesome.
What's up, everyone? I'm Keith Goodman here, and my Persona history, I started back on Persona 2, Eternal Punishment, back in the day when I was like a little 12-year-old. The game was amazing. Played the fan translations of Innocent Sin before the PSP remake came out. Played Persona 3, 4, 5, all that good stuff. I kind of stayed clear of the side games, though.
The side games, even
Like
though technically...
Persona Q, it's not...
But
canon,
oh,
you know
okay.
what I'm
I
saying?
thought you were talking about SMT.
Oh, dude, I'm a huge Shin Megami Tensei fan. Like,
You've played all those,
straight
haven't
up
you?
fanboy, yeah.
And you should definitely give the arena games a shot because those are actually really good fighters.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I do want to try those out.
My name's John. If you go to the beginning of Fancy Ramen, I probably was on 2 or 3 of those podcasts, but haven't been on any since.
No, you were on one like midway.
That's
from
true.
Where we've been.
Yeah. I'm relatively new to the series. I have beaten Persona 3 FES, Persona 4 Golden, and now Persona 5 all within a year and a half. So I'm very new and it's all very fresh to me. And I've played Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I haven't beat that yet, but those are basically the only games I've ever played from this whole Shin Megami Tensei thing.
Well worded. I think Cookie would be happy with that too.
Yeah.
I'm Neil. I'm always in this Fancy Ramen thing. And I think in the last episode, I misquoted myself. My first SMT game was Revelations Persona, the first one. Nocturne was the first recent one, meaning like PlayStation 2. And I've played every Persona game since then and probably way too many times on 4. And I begrudgingly played the second part of FES, which I still think is
The answer?
I don't know. We will maybe get into that later, but like that's maybe the one installment of the series so far that I don't like. I haven't played Persona Q because I haven't owned a 3DS, but I just got one for Christmas, and that may have just kicked Fire Emblem Echoes out of its next game to play, so to speak. So without further ado, like I don't know how we want to start our
You're
conversation.
bursting at the seams now. you
Yeah,
have so many things you need to ask.
The worst
Word.
part is I'm not fresh. Like I have not necessarily caught back up my second time through. Excuse me. To where, like I'm not that far in my second playthrough, so I'll have some fresh idea. But I guess given that we're all entering this knowing that we've all beaten it, and anyone listening to this podcast, you know,
We hope that they've beaten it.
otherwise they're in for a bad time. So do we want to start just by talking about the twists? Because I mean, that's kind of been my desire to actually talk about the 3 big twists.
Go for it. What's the first twist?
So the first one, at least I considered, was that Goro Akechi is the black mask that's referred to in like the second or third dungeon. Yeah, the second dungeon with Madarame.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Prince Detective, which you can see some parallels between him and Naoto in Persona 4, speaking of which, is the cause of these accidents and unexplained deaths. And overall, just a bad guy.
Okay. We should probably talk about, the when you find out that once the drugs wear off, this has all been part of the plan, how they, the phone stuff and stuff like that. So,
well, so were you guys surprised by Akechi?
I'll start. I don't think I was. From his name alone, I was like, I kept on thinking Adachi.
Oh.
So Adachi, who was the the main baddie in 4, I was like, Man, if this guy's the bad guy, she could have got more like creative with the name at least because it's really close.
It's one syllable off, yeah.
Akachi.
And they're both detectives.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck.
Right.
So that was my first thing, which was completely stupid and not based in anything in the game. I guess when he started to all of a sudden have a change of heart and was like super best friends with you guys, I kind of was sketchy with him, and that's kind of what started it. But I really it was just along for the ride, so I wasn't thinking too much about it. So
Yeah, I have to agree. I was kind of like that the same way, where it was to the point of like I almost felt the creators marked him as the bad guy from the start to make players doubt his involvement, which admittedly worked on me because he was just kind of the out of sight, out of mind for the time being.
When you look at the banner that shows up when you start Persona 5, you see his face and you see every other character's face. And granted, like I've always kind of felt that the Persona games spoil themselves by showing off who the cast of characters is. But this kind of worked in its favor because I see him every time I start Persona 5.
yeah.
And I'm just assuming at this point, like, okay, he's going to be our Naoto or whoever our last, person is in these games. And yeah, he's going to be a good guy.
I will say I was a little skeptic though because Haru came in way late, and I was like, "This got to be it." And then all of a sudden he joins your party like even later.
You see, I thought Haru might have been malicious to begin with. My fear of Haru disappeared within like 30 minutes of knowing her character. But she's so chipper, and she already has a persona. And like this is before, Oh,
and your dad's dead, and you don't really
this
care.
out there real quick. Haru sucks and should never have been in the game, along with her stupid dad.
I mean, her dad.
Keep going.
Her dad's story wise, her dad was pretty important, but like, once he dies, she's like, it's nothing. Nothing happens, and then once the battle, or she like brushes it off almost.
I think we'll get to the analysis here of her character and what a possible replacement could have been.
Okay.
Before that, Keith, how are your thoughts on Akechi?
I never trusted him. I wanted to though because I liked playing his character. I thought he was cool. He had sick abilities. Brought something fresh to the squad.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as Futaba like grabbed his phone and tried to play it off, I was like, "Oh, she definitely installed something or did something to this guy." So
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I look way into things when I'm playing it though, and can't enjoy anything like that because I'm trying to like see the plot twist ahead. Because that's half the fun for me. So yeah. Plus, he was always creeping at your cafe, like doing recon on your squad, and just couldn't trust him. So I wasn't surprised. There are turns of events though of him being the son that like I never saw coming.
That was a twist that I was not expecting either. I think part of the game too, the way it was made, or like the way the scenario writer scripted out these scenes, it was really heavily hinting towards Akechi being, someone malicious, especially as you got the hazy feelings, which leads us into our next twist. Hold
on. Before you go, I found this image that I sent to Keith when I was playing it. So this is when you're on your phone, and it's right before Makoto's sister's dungeon. It goes, I said, let's go all out. And Makoto goes, we'll be relying on you. And Akechi goes, what a wonderful, trusting relationship. I will do my best in this as well. And I sent that to Keith, and I go, I don't trust his ass.
I remember that.
Oh man, I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this guy's being way too chipper for what's really going on right now.
But he seems chipper up until that point.
True.
But so those hazy feelings do kind of provide you with quite a bit of foreshadowing that something is not what it seems. Specifically, as we learn, as you, the player, rediscover your memories as the protagonist, that essentially this is all one elaborate setup to double or triple cross, or whatever the case would be, Akechi, and ultimately release the protagonist from police grasp and fake his death. I mean, I don't even know what question to pose here, but how was that payoff for you guys?
Kind of to reiterate, I did not see that as even a plan. It was just kind of just thrown out on me because I was so focused on getting all the dungeons done that I stopped kind of paying attention to the subtle hints that were being presented in the game, and I loved how after he got released, they just kind of sat down as a group and they had it explained, like every small detail about it. And it made sense once it got explained to me. But for me as a player myself, I did not catch on to that. And I wish I did.
Yeah, I didn't either. I would be interested to see once Akechi comes into the story, the hints when you replay it again, if they're like egging him on or if they're like whatever they say to kind of maybe hint at that they know what they're doing and they're really setting him up.
Right.
When he rolls in and caps the main character in the head, I thought I got the bad ending. I was sitting there, I'm like, wait, I answered all of them right. I didn't, and that's probably what they wanted you to feel. I answered all of them right. I didn't rat out my team, and then he shot me. And
yeah, I was actually like, as that happened, I was like, should I just restart right now? Like, I can go back and do the dungeon over and replay it. Like, I don't care how many hours I just wasted. I just don't want the bad ending.
Yeah.
So I had a question about that. So he kills you in a palace, right?
And
Is
not
that
actually
technically
in
a
a
palace?
palace,
So-
but it is part of the we'll say shadow world. Or
Yeah,
So-
that's yeah.
But the fact that the main character doesn't die from that in the real world, I'd have never understood that.
Okay, so
Was that ever explained?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to also reiterate too that like I did not know there were going to be good and bad endings or where they would be. I assumed that just like the other two games that there were going to be good and bad endings.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like you guys, when the main character gets shot and you start getting the reaction shots from everyone in your team, I'm just like, oh man, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Because I also didn't know that the choices in the interrogation mattered, or at least at the end of your
Well, it gave you that
interrogation.
save spot like they do in the last two games where it's like, this is the point of no return. You have to save.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even realize that's what they were preparing you for. But it's just that Persona's really good at making you feel like your choices are more flavor in a lot of cases. Like whether or not you tell, some super frivolous thing, like when you go into the classroom the first time in Persona 4 and you can say like who you're calling a loser to Morishima. I can't remember his name. King Moron.
King Moron, yeah.
Like that's completely worthless. It just allows you to.
No, it actually ups your courage because I did it this morning because I started PS.
Oh, you're right.
I
You're right.
I started that this morning actually.
It's like flavor text. It lets you like live out like your character a little more, or influences personalities. As for the explanation for the whole fake interrogation room, they refer earlier, or like the first time they go into Nijima's palace, or I'm trying to think of the right word for it.
The metaverse?
Metaverse. Thank you. That's perfect.
No one understands.
Yeah.
Not even Neo.
No.
right,
I'll
let's
tell
hear
you.
it then,
Okay,
dude. Let's go.
So when they go into the metaverse outside of her palace for the first time, everyone's talking about how like everything looks completely normal and that people look normal.
Because they still have to enter into the palace, but everything around it is kind of the same, right?
Yeah, but specifically for her, because she views her twisted perception on the world is confined to the courthouse or whatever her offices are. Like she doesn't see distorted truths or distorted desires, that's the word, elsewhere. So like the jailhouse even is perfectly normal. So when they hand the phone to Akechi like assumingly like clicks it or turns it on, and at that point that's when Futaba is able to determine, okay, like Akechi has the phone. She then remotely activates the metaverse app, taking him into size whatever metaverse, if you will, or the metaverse, not even her palace. Then she goes into the interrogation room. The prosecutor's perception of the interrogation room is undisturbed by her desires. So what she sees is the protagonist sitting in that chair, acting like he would. Akechi shoots the metaverse protagonist. Metaverse protagonist dies because, no distorted crazy desires that turns him into like a sphinx or anything like that. Yeah. Akechi walks out and at some point leaves the metaverse. But because her perception, aside from her palace, is not all that distorted, it's hard to tell when you enter and leave the metaverse.
Because he does hold the phone. When he gets the phone initially, you get that weird like
we as players
yeah.
witness it, but he doesn't, luckily.
It's kind of like wasn't it Makoto when she was like spying on everybody, that when I forget which palace it was. Was it the vault or the bank? Weren't you guys outside, or was that Akechi? You're outside and you hit the metaverse, and she was like eavesdropping on the conversation, which led her to come with.
I can't recall exactly. Yeah, I think that's what it's something like that.
Because when they hit the button, it was still looked exactly like the outside of the bank, which is kind of the same thing. So.
Yep. And it only works, as they establish, because the prosecutor's perception is not that distorted except for the courthouse. And yes, it's like a giant gamble, and the fact that they do it is super ballsy, but this is also, a Japanese shonen style game.
Persona, so
yeah. So it all works.
Yep. As a whole, like that was just probably the most rewarding part of the game for me. Like realizing that you just completely Ocean's 11'd the villains in that game.
Oh yeah, that part was great because you're finally getting some real story.
Ooh.
Did I just take a dig at it?
A little bit.
Sorry, dude. My bad.
Boy, did we.
Did we have any final thoughts on the plan itself?
I thought it was cool that everything that you did at this point was told through flashbacks. So obviously you don't have all the answers. Like you can look at it from a negative way, like, oh, that's just how they're going to patch in all of the story. But it was cool that because the big reveal was that they planned it all this entire time, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. He was drugged up. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
When we talk about the story as a whole, I will totally defend that and draw up the whole, like, this is all a flashback as part of my support for how much the story is better than the other games. But before we go there, maybe like the reveal that I'm sure like a lot more people got. I certainly didn't expect it, but the true identity of Igor and Morgana, of course, is a side thing to that.
I loved that.
Like, so for anyone that's not in the know, Igor's Japanese voice actor died back in like 2012 or 2013 after 4, well before 5. So when I heard the initial like voice acting for Igor in English, and it was obviously not the or I can't.
You just thought it was Kiefer Sutherland right now.
Yeah, I assumed it was like, well, okay, so they changed the Japanese voice actor, and this game is obviously darker in nature, so they wanted to change the English voice actor to kind of fit the same feel or theme.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that I don't know.
I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either.
Especially because I played Metal Gear Solid 5. So I was like, all right, people just switch now. There's no big deal.
Yeah, it's like a money
Like,
problem.
don't even overthink it like you did.
I assumed everyone got it except me in this case.
Well, when you look back on it and you're fighting the Holy Grail, which is segue is what we're going to talk about next, but you can hear the Igor voice in it faintly because it's like layered with this other voice. You can hear it, and watching like videos of it after the fact, you're like, oh shit, it's right there. Like you can totally, if you were paying attention, it is Igor's voice or fake Igor.
Well, not to mention, too, the fake Igor voice has a bit of modulation or effect to it that all of the personas have. And that, I mean, like, granted, the personas were never voiced in 3 and 4, except for, like, cutscenes, and those didn't have the effect either. But that's like another clue that I feel like I should have noticed. That right away, Igor, who has always had, like, a super plain... Yeah, I mean, like, I pride myself in some of those
I feel
things.
you on that.
The thing that kind of was a red flag for me in the sense of Igor not being himself was that he usually does your fusions, correct? And he had the both the Velvet Room attendants do the fusions, so he wasn't actually doing it himself. And also
snap.
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Oh, that's groundbreaking.
And one could also argue, like, when you're in the middle of playing the game and, we know the underlying themes of rebellion, you could also maybe argue that the distortion of Igor's voice when the Yaldabaoth was impersonating him was because the main character perceived him as a figure of authority, and he was jailed within his own heart. So I feel like maybe you could argue that a little bit.
Crap, that makes a lot of sense.
Damn.
Shit.
Well said.
You're dropping bombs on us. The other thing, too, that like I assumed was also part of the feel and theme was that his opening dialogue was complete. And I'm not talking about the, hey, you need to agree that this game is fictional and that there are, like, you don't need to worry if there are any similarities to reality, even though there are a bunch, blah, blah, blah. Talking about the specific introduction of Igor, his script is very, very different from 3 and 4, where 3 and 4 were very similar in how he introduces himself and introduces the player to the Velvet Room. Just the nature, too, of the protagonist being treated as a prisoner as opposed to a guest.
Yep.
Like, even though he may call him a guest, he still, like, he even has his Velvet Room attendants, and at least in their split form, refer to him as a prisoner. So many red flags.
It's a great way to keep it fresh, but still keeping the formula and tie in story.
Yeah. And then later on in the game, when I can't remember when it started, but he started talking about like a god and the game and stuff like that, and you're just like, wait a minute, this is kind of weird. Like,
Right.
It's super weird because, like, Igor himself never really refers to he will refer to God, so to speak, within a plural sense. And like, granted, this is kind of old knowledge coming from me, and I'm sure I might be misremembering things, but I feel like he's more attuned to having multiple deities. Like, he is a controller in some way, or a facilitator of deities. Not saying he's more powerful. I felt like when he was speaking in Persona 5, he was really, I guess, like, a casual way of putting it is, like, he was really talking up this guy. Like, wait, can you pronounce it again? Yaldabaoth?
Yaldabaoth.
Yaldabaoth.
At least that's
okay.
what I've gotten from it.
That's what I'm naming my
I could be totally
son.
butchering it.
oh, Yaldi.
That's my rap name now.
Yeah, Lil Yaldi.
First mixtape. Sorry. Keep going.
So yeah, that twist was not expected. I think we all can agree on that.
And I'm really glad Morgana was not a human.
I am too. I'm glad. I kind of wanted to fight Morgana because everyone knows the meme. You got to go to bed. You got to do this. You're really tired, aren't you? And the whole Mementos thing, when you see Morgana having nightmares about it, I was like, man, I just want to. Like, I want him to be bad, and I want to whoop his ass. I want to have this. I want to have this fight in Mementos, because, like, I didn't at the time. You obviously didn't know what exactly Mementos was, but I'm glad he wasn't a human. But I also wish he would have been like this, kind of like in 3, like evil manifested or whatever, this little cat or something. I don't know.
Like the Ryuji of Persona 5. It turns out I was death all along. Like, how Pharaoh and Ryuji.
Was his name really Ryuji?
Yeah.
Ryoji, maybe?
Gosh, I need to pick different names.
It might have been Ryoji.
Like Mike. Mike in Japan.
Dan. I'm Dan. I'm Death. But yeah, to piggyback off Keith, I'm glad Morgana wasn't a human.
Yeah, I kind of thought Morgana was a lot like Teddy. I didn't see it coming that he was tied to the Velvet Room, and that, Igor made him the person to assist with the main character's journey. Like, that was another plot twist I did not see coming.
Did he make Morgana knowing that he was going to be encaged or trapped or whatever?
That's what I gathered from it. It's like his last ditch effort is like a spirit bomb, trying to get everything, put it together.
And then it turned into a cat.
It was at least better than Teddy.
Yes, I was about to say that, but you got it first.
So I'm a Teddy apologist. And
you are.
I still like Teddy.
Tell him what's on your keychain.
Tell him
what's on your keychain.
It's not on my keychain anymore. It's someplace.
It's under his pillow.
It broke. It's a golden Teddy emblem that came with the Persona 4 Dancing All Night box set.
Oh my God.
It's fucking great. Teddy is awesome.
Dude, Teddy is one of the worst things that ever happened to video games.
What?
Yeah. Straight up.
He's comic
Morgana
relief?
was not nearly as bad.
No, Morgana is awesome.
Use
in
the
my
term
opinion.
comic very loosely there.
Oh, you know what? We can argue about that later.
All right, let's keep it.
I think I've made
keep it
my
civil
adjustments
right now.
to my all-star team. Okay.
Okay. I'll comment then.
Well, what did you guys think about stick it old Yaldi real quick? The plot twist of not really a twist, but of Mementos coming into the real world and having to go face all the angels up on the skeleton road and all that stuff. What did you guys think of that?
It kind of turned into Devil Survivor at the end. That kind of plot twist. You have to fight God, team up with Satan, or just like want to go true freedom. You got to kill God, basically. That's what I took it as a metaphor for. Because I mean, you got a holy grail.
Yep.
And kind of a common theme with all the Shin Megami Tensei games is achieving true freedom. And
depends on like which ones.
True.
Because some of them are just a question of like your morality between chaos and order.
Right. And in this case, well, like all the metaphors of alluding to religion and Catholicism.
Yeah, this
religion is controlling people, and people want
Persona
to be
5 is law is bad or order is bad, and
Right.
chaos or freedom is good, like all the way through.
So is this more of a, since I haven't played any of the other Shin Megami Tensei games, like this is more of an old school SMT type like storyline, isn't it?
In certain respects, but you could even argue that Persona 1 and 2 especially were way more heavy into the God aspects. Well, maybe not 1 as much, but 2 definitely is all about gods fucking with humans and ultimately doing a lot of terrible things. And I felt like this game in a lot of ways was a return to form for those classic Persona games, the first 3, not Persona 3, but Persona 1 and both Persona 2s. Some of those old themes come into place, but it still has that iconic, like, shonen style power trip storyline, you know?
Yeah, I actually kind of did a little research behind the lore of it and how the Yaldabaoth, however you pronounce it. So, you know, he's known as a false god, and we of course get that he's manifested from humanity's distortions and desires. And in the end, he verses against the Satanel. And I guess it's a part of, well, sorry, I should get a little more into it, but Yaldabaoth is known as the creator of the universe in Plato's Timaeus. I am maybe butchering that as well. But can also be found in other branches of like Neoplatonism as the fashioner of the real perceptible world, taken after the model of ideas. So in like Gnostics like Marcion rejected the idea of the Hebrew Bible and thought that there was dualism or the opposite forces, which would tie the Yaldabaoth and Satanel's fate together. And the Yaldabaoth is explained a little bit in an article I read. I'll have to link it down later, but that it's a demented deity that works against humanity, which is exactly what he's doing within the game.
That's awesome.
And so Satanel is known from the second book of Enoch and is the leader of fallen angels that rebelled, refusing to bow to the human Enoch, which led to his imprisonment. So it kind of all ties back into makes sense that he was also imprisoned within our scene.
It's just really suitable that they chose this particular entity because it is a creation of our collective minds. And not to mention the fact that this game is all about like social media and kind of like an analysis or a criticism of it. Like it fits the theme better than anything else you'd come up with.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that stuff that Caitlin said, but it makes the ending so much cooler. Which I already thought was cool, and with all of them like disintegrating and stuff, and forgetting about them while and that whole scene where they're
when they're forgetting about the Phantom Thieves. Like this felt like the most major of the 3 modern Persona games in terms of how shitty your situation is. Persona 3, like ultimately, if you get the bad ending, you discover that if you do kill Ryoji, life goes on potentially for a number of millennia, or maybe not millennia, but like thousands of years afterwards. Life is okay. You could have just killed Ryoji. You kill Ryoji anyways. I mean, the ending is the same, except the main character doesn't die. Mm-hmm. Persona 4, our town's really foggy. Oh shit. And I'm kind of coughing a lot. Like, this sucks. But I mean, like, granted, there's also a killer on the loose too. Yeah. But Persona 5, like, your existence is being denied. and the world is
Right.
getting completely fucked up. Like it's happening in reality and not in a TV or not at some magical 25th hour.
That happens in the end of Persona 3. They forgot about his existence
They forgot about their
temporarily.
they forgot about not
Same with
his
4
existence,
or
so to
5, I mean.
speak, but they forgot about their travels. They didn't travel there in a fucking city. They forgot about their like journey together, I guess you could say.
Still friends. They just forgot about like Mitsuru's dad, or that was what triggered it all.
Which speaking of that, both endings they end up forgetting about their trials.
That's my point.
Like fucking like, oh my God, I'm ready to fucking fight about these stories, man. So yeah, as a whole, like Persona 5, there is a completely different twist to the series, which is like no longer are we playing quote unquote present day, at least until you get 3/4 of the way through. You were introduced to the protagonist in a very shitty situation, getting beaten up by police in an interrogation room. And that to me caused like this level of alarm and the sense of duty for me to play the game in 2 weeks.
You didn't have to do like a 2-hour tutorial in the beginning, like in 4 or anything like that. You didn't have to like. I just started that this morning and it's just like, hey, here's your staying with, here's everyone else. But that you do that eventually, but in 5 you're just like out the gate. You're like, you're with this crew. You're eventually gonna, and you could tell right away. You're like, oh, I'll meet these guys later because they're blacking out their faces and their names and stuff. But
Yeah, within 2 days of like the start of your flashback, you are already fighting shadows. It takes you a week in 3 and a week in 4. I could be wrong on that.
you meet Teddy on the 3rd day,
Garbage beer.
and on the 3rd day you meet the garbage bear.
No, I thought they did such an excellent job of the story's progression as a whole. It's probably got to be. I'm a huge fan of Persona 3, but I feel like this story takes the cake in the sense of keeping the audience interested and just wanting to play more and not having to really worry about going to the dungeons and grinding the whole time.
Well, I agree with you, except for the middle part. The middle part where you're in the bank in Kaneshiro. Is that his name? The mob boss. I didn't like the mob boss. I loved the palace, the bank palace. But right out the gate, the first palace is Kamoshida, and An is directly involved with him, and so is Ryuji. So you automatically care about these characters right away, and you're like, oh shit, what's she doing in his car? And he's blackmailing her, and Ryuji and the track team and all that stuff. So it's like there was no like warm up period. Like right out the gate, you're like, these guys are directly affected by this one guy who is going to be the boss of the first dungeon.
And like I don't want to dwell on 4 too much, but let's also note that someone dies in 4.
I don't know who that was, and it didn't matter to me. It was just like, who's this? Oh, she had a.
You're absolutely right. Like there's no connection between the protagonist and that character.
Yeah.
But in 5, like off screen, but you can imagine your character like witnesses a girl jump off of a fucking building.
Yeah.
Like that. Like
It starts out great. The first palace is great, and then I don't know. I'd argue with you on the pacing of the game. Mostly how it's constructed.
no, I would agree with you, but like before I let you talk, because I know you're going to tear into it. For just some background information. Oh, while you were talking, Caitlin, Keith is just like fuming, and
I'm not fuming, Caitlin.
He's
Don't listen
putting
to
bull-
him.
he's
Don't
putting
even listen
bullets
to
in his
him.
gun right
Don't
now.
even listen to these guys. They're a bunch of haters, all right?
so I'll note, like, kind of touching on Haru for a second, but once you get to that point in the game, leaning like close towards the casino dungeon for Nijima, before that, and immediately after that, the game has some weird pacing issues where, like, I would not have just beaten the game if I wasn't so invested to knowing what would happen. Like, this is literally my first or second favorite series of video games.
Did it go? Was it bank, and then Futaba pyramids, and then casino? Is that how it went? Or was there one in between?
There's
pyramid and
there's
casino?
the space one.
Space one. Okay, that's right. So, in my opinion, if Futaba's story arc and the pyramid palace wasn't in between the space and the and the bank, storyline wise, that probably would have just been ruthless to get through. Because like it was just like I agree with the pacing was weird with the mob boss and then the whole Big Bang Burger stuff and like that. But I loved Futaba's story and everything about it.
I didn't mind the mob boss. Like I thought the pacing was great up until like that 75% mark, and just something felt like it dragged for me. And it was harder for me to get through the last quarter of the game. And like up until that point for me, that game was perfect, like literally untouchable. And that kind of knocked itself off of that pedestal.
I've had that problem with 3 and 4 though, and it was you get 75% done, and it's almost like inherent like fatigue a little bit, where you're like, I need to stop. I'm just like playing this like it's a job right now, and I need to take a break.
Hey, being a Phantom Thief is a job, okay?
But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that.
All right, Keith, go ahead. Let's hear you do this.
All right. Well, my main issue with the pacing is how the game rewards you with social links. So you're in your best to finish the dungeon in one night. Like spend one day doing it so you can maximize your social links, which means you could do like 8 hours of straight dungeon and then like 10 hours of just social links and storyline, which kind of just really, after doing that for 60 hours, you talk about the 75% mark, you kind of already burnt out on that system. As opposed to if it was constructed in a way where you could only do like certain sections of the dungeon, only get 3 hours in, and then you could be like, well, I'm out of the dungeon anyways. Might as well do some social links for a little bit and hop back in the dungeon. Also, we talked about the antagonists and didn't really care about the bank robbery either. Didn't really, as far as Kamoshida, like that starts out so great, but then you have no personal connection to your enemies for a significant portion of the game, which kind of turned me off. And that's like around October, like I had to quit playing for a little bit. I just bought Silent Hill 2 HD, just straight up ran that for like 10 hours straight. Then I got back into the game.
That's a mistake there, though. If you're going
to change the pace.
If you're going to play Silent Hill 2, you don't buy the HD.
I researched. I got the PS3. It's patched. It's not as bad as the internet says it is. I'm being honest. Like I thought it was pretty sick.
It's because you're a baby and you don't want the fog so you can see your enemies.
I've got freaking PS2 copy.
I will say this.
Trophies, all right?
I think they obviously don't want you to beat the palace in one sitting. And I don't think that when they built this game, they expect you to max all your social links like right away. They want you to pick a certain arcana and stick like, kind of do it that way. But that's the beauty of it. You can do it any way you want. And what I
can't, dude. It's my OCD.
See, well,
that's my thing. Like,
that's
I got to do the dungeon one night, get some SP recovery rings, and just run it.
And I would go until I was out of SP, and I was like, oh, that's it for the night. I'm gonna I'll do whatever the next day. And I didn't max out all my social links, and so I guess that's just personal preference. With do you really want to get that palace done on that first day? I guess if you want to maximize your options, but
hell yeah.
Okay. You don't have to.
But I don't want to. I can't help it, man.
Oh, and by the way, Caitlin, if you ever need to say something, just interject. You're the one that's at a disadvantage, so just talk and we'll shut up.
Okay, no worries. Those are fair points, and I get it. I just felt that it was a little easier to almost plan everything out when it was like, hey, this is going to go down in however many days. You have this amount of time to do it. And it's like, okay, well, I can knock out the dungeon in like these 4 days, and then the rest I can spend on social links or improving some of my skills. And I honestly kind of like that as a mechanic a little better.
I did too.
I also felt like the game was a lot easier to max out your confidence, compared to 3 and 4.
Definitely.
Like for 2 reasons. The first one was that they did not open access to everyone right away. Like, I mean, I know they don't in 3 and 4, but they do a much better job of, okay, Sun is open now, and Sun's going to close a little later on, so you should probably do Sun. Granted, if you don't have the foresight, you lose out on what I think is one of the best characters in the game.
Which one's that?
The politician.
See, you guys got to tell me names. I don't go by Arcana. I'm not old school like that. You just gotta tell me the names of the character.
Yoshida was his
Yoshida.
name.
Kaylin is clutch. I'm so glad she's here.
My favorite one was, I think Kawakami is the most clutch. Speaking of clutch, the most clutch confidant in the history of
Which one?
Kawakami.
Teacher.
You got to go by the Arcana. Oh,
The
yeah.
maid.
Dude. Oh,
She was great.
She's incredible.
Not to
Dude.
mention too, she's great from a story standpoint, but also and character standpoint, but also great functionally. Like the
Yeah.
most useful.
Absolutely.
Oh man,
Exact. Yeah.
you max her out and she's like, give you a massage and you can go out after you've been in the metaverse. This changes everything.
Which, by the way, like that was the most awkward. Like I'm a cringy person. I cannot watch a lot of animes and remain uncringed. I could be watching Seventh Heaven and be like, "This is too much for me. I got to turn this off." This awkward situation.
I can't watch people sing the national anthem live. I hate cringe. I hate it. I do. I just the fear of them
great.
screwing up live just kills me. I just can't do it.
Like we'll have some time to talk characters, but yeah, Kawakami's awesome. The second reason why I thought the game is just that much easier on maxing out confidant levels, I mean, is
Fortune.
yeah, fortune. Now, granted, here's the thing: like, I did not use a guide except for responses, but I didn't use like a schedule guide, and I maxed everyone out except for Tower, who I was down one level.
Who is that?
Oh gosh, who was Tower
The
again?
the
little
arcade
boy.
kid, the kid that's got the voice that's in a lot
okay.
of animes. And I didn't even use fortune. I did not understand by the
Wow.
time I got that, because it's one of her later skills, right? So by the time I got
Yeah,
that, I was
it's like
in like,
rank
I
7.
need to fucking finish this game mode. I don't need your skills. Like your other skills have been stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't care if you can tell me what other people are going to do for me because I'm gonna max their shit out anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah,
hardcore.
like I
Yeah.
didn't necessarily get to see a lot of the extra stuff, but by the end of the game, like literally on my very last day, I got enough, or second to the last day, I got enough skill, well, whatever points to get the Tower Kid up to the max rank. I just was missing that one day to get him there.
That sucks,
Yeah,
dude. You
fucking
would have got
sucks.
the trophy from it, and he doesn't come till late game,
Yep.
mid-late game. So who was everyone's favorite confidant in Persona 5? I bet Neo's was Hifumi.
I will have to.
Sorry. Kaylin, you first.
I actually really liked Yoshida and his backstory as a corrupted politician. So, and it was entertaining, and I felt like he was the most sincere social link, if that's not weird to say. But I also enjoyed how throughout the story, the progression of both Akechi and Sai Najima's social link between the main character was like something I didn't have to worry about the whole time, like getting their social links up. But it was really cool to see how it progressed through the story as well.
Yeah, it really benefits in their favor that they had story specific or story linked levels, because they can at that point the scenario writers can script out the best links for them, or the best story for them in relation to their confidant links. Because I don't know if that many people would be able to choose like the party member links purely by the nature that they wrote them in a way that would be inconsequential to the rest of the story. Like, I'm either going to be a model or I'm not going to be a model.
Mm-hmm.
That was heavy shit, dude. Watch your mouth.
Hey, Anna's or Lady On
Lady on.
is tough as nails, man.
So,
In battle.
like,
Moving on.
Moving on.
I would have to agree with you. I think Yoshida's by far my favorite. And I also wanted to say for Akechi, too, I noticed a post on Reddit like months and months back that was pointing out how, each of your characters, as they get to their max rank or close to their max rank, they get the ability to die for you.
Yeah.
Well, Akechi dies for you on his max rank.
For real.
That's yep.
Damn.
My favorite one's Kawakami, and that was just because like the whole maid thing came out of nowhere, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, you and Ryuji, or I think Yosuke was with too. I don't remember. Yeah,
Yuji and Mishima.
Oh yeah, that's right, Mishima. Y'all were just like doing stuff, and all you just stumble upon this story, and you can fuck around during class. You can make her give you a massage, go out, and then have her make you coffee or do your laundry, and like you can just put her to work, which sounds really bad, but the fact that like she just lets you get away with shit, and her whole story about being blackballed or blackmailed by the family of the son that died in the car accident when he was exhausted from studying too much or whatever. Like I thought that was really cool.
Wait, you just quotation marked exhausted from studying too much. Are you implying that something happened between the dead student and Kawakami?
I don't know. That's what the parents thought.
I don't know, man.
It's the parents thought.
Oh, so you're saying that maybe he actually committed suicide?
I don't know.
Because like I totally had an impression that maybe there was some
Their
like
parents
other
did
thing
suck.
there. Yeah, the kid was obviously in a really shit situation.
Yeah.
And the teacher basically rejected or like did not provide support. The teacher, Kawakami, basically that last night refused to offer support for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that. And then, like I said, like the funny situations of when she's making stuff for you, and just shit like that. Like the story you told me about.
Oh yeah, I was telling John. So I did I romanced all the girls in this playthrough, just because I got emotions. All right, so don't judge me on that. And
he doesn't know what he wants,
And so I had my teacher downstairs making me curry and coffee in her maid costume while I got rank 10 Hifumi going on right upstairs. And my teacher does not say anything about bringing girls by. She's just down to help you because she knows you're fam thief and she loves you and she's just down.
She'll do your laundry.
I was laughing every time. It'd be like red text. You're already in a relationship with another woman. Are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, I laugh to myself and I'm like, yeah.
And she comes through the door like, hi.
Yeah. So
just wait till Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, that's when it got weird. I actually felt bad for Haru. Like all of them basically surround you and they end up kicking your ass. But I felt bad for Haru because like she already got like one dick boyfriend. So I'm like the one guy that she
you were the
like,
rebound
loves,
and still,
and she like has faith in men because of me, and then I just fucking cheating on her too. So. Feel bad about
and
that.
Doesn't like Sojiro or someone give you like a chocolate? Like they fling a chocolate once you're down on the ground or something.
Yeah. They give
it's
you.
It's just like Happy Valentine's.
They all show up with their chocolates and they're all just so hurt. And I'm just like, oh no, what did I do? Haru, I'm sorry. That's the only time I felt bad for her actually.
So who did you ultimately pick? Because can't you choose to spend time with one person?
I chose On.
On?
Yeah.
Okay.
I chose Makoto.
I chose Makoto too.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't have enough kindness for Futaba. But
so yeah, this is actually maybe a good time to talk about the romance just for a little bit too. I chose Makoto just because it kind of felt like the most fluid thing, because it seems like An and Ryuji have something like a little bit of chemistry there. And I would have picked Futaba. Did you guys all max Sojiro's link, by the way?
No, I didn't get to it.
Fuck you guys.
I did not.
Come on. Well, I guess that's what you guys are doing next.
I just go with the flow in this game,
That's why it took me
I didn't have enough
140 hours.
kindness again.
So my second favorite link was Sojiro. Like I
really
think
wanted to max him out.
Awesome.
He's a great character.
Yeah, definitely.
But so Sojiro's link, max link, his events really support Futaba's and back and forth. So like I felt I would have personally picked Futaba, but knowing that my girlfriend is going to pick her, like I've known since the initial character designs came out, like they have a similarity in appearance and interests in that they're both super big video game nerds and computer nerds. I was like, well, she's going to pick it. I'm going to watch her do all those. So I guess I'm not going to. That all stated, this feels like the least, I mean, this game out of the three, out of actually every Persona game, maybe with the exception of one, the romance feels like the least important part of it, or the least important out of all six games, I guess.
They seem like, I don't know, older, more mature a little bit. Like it seems like it's not a big deal to them. I don't know.
It just seemed like they didn't put the importance in.
Yeah.
Whereas in 4, you're constantly reminded of like a little bit of that romantic tension, especially with Rise.
Yeah. And Yukari right away, like never having a boyfriend, popular girl or whatever.
Wait, Yukiko?
Yukari.
Yukiko.
Oh, you're talking in 3. Sorry. Yeah.
Or no. Yukiko. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Yukiko. She's never had a boyfriend, and you hear that right off the gate. And Chie is like,
don't you think she's cute?
yeah, and Chie's a tomboy, but she doesn't want to be all, girly and stuff. Like
The identity seeking and searching in 4 is very much, I think, fueled by romantic feelings or like the desire to be an adult in that regard too. Whereas in 3, I mean, at its heart, I think 3 is meant to have a romance between the protagonist and Aigis. Like Yukari is totally set up as quote unquote best waifu. But when Aigis comes in, I mean, like, you fucking die, assuming you're the guy character.
Yeah.
You fucking die in her lap. Like, that is totally the implied nature of that game.
Yeah.
She develops feelings for the protagonist.
You can't romance them all in 3. They get mad at you.
Well, you can in Fess, I think. I don't recall,
Yeah.
because I played more original 3.
I played Fess, and as soon as you went on a date with someone else, you got the big canceled X sign or whatever.
You got the reverse tarot?
Yeah.
Or reverse?
Yeah.
I thought 3 allowed you to like manipulate women aggressively in a terrible way.
No, you can get caught.
Yeah, you got caught.
3. Like you can't play around like that.
And I wish I would have romanced Mitsuru, because I thought Yukari, I don't know.
Everything good about Yukari, she fucking burns away in the answer.
Oh,
It's
really?
like, yeah.
That game that doesn't exist.
Some weird game that no one's ever played.
And it's not her fault either. It's like, I feel bad for her because it's like the writers were like, well, we need some sort of anti-driving force to piss people off. I guess Yukari's been kind of moody lately. Let's go ahead and use her. My father's dead.
Well, I like how the Persona series can show character development without even using words. Like, for example, Sojiro, do you notice once he picks you up from the juvenile
He does
detention?
not want you around.
He puts you in the front seat. Doesn't he make you sit in the back seat in the beginning of the game?
Oh.
He's like, sit in the back. Am I tripping on this?
Oh, yeah.
And then you're right in the front seat and they don't even explain it. It's just like, oh, okay, we're cool now. I guess her voice changes to become more human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
kinda
I
subtle
thought that
game
was
design.
a really nice touch. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, I think that's you think that's why Persona 4 is like regarded as like it's obviously the more popular one, but how we already discussed earlier how the story wasn't as dark as 3 and 5, but every one of those characters had really good character development for.
Yeah, I personally feel like 4 is jumping maybe a little too far ahead.
My fault, sorry.
No, you're fine. But Katsuro Hashino, in like a recent interview with IGN, talks about how he wants the Persona games to more or less be like especially resonant for people. Not necessarily. This isn't his drive, but he finds that people resonate with Persona as adults because you reminisce about your high school days and you play it knowing that those days are going to come to an end and your days with your friends. Like, I think 5 does a really good job of this too, but 3 just kills you. Like, whether or not you're going to die in that game, you're going to die. But 4 does the best job of building up these relationships and then ultimately forcing you to witness the end of those relationships in some regard, at least as they are by the end of 4. Granted, Golden was like super awesome in that you get to see the evolved form of those relationships a year after the fact.
Dan Marie is the weather girl.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's really good.
She's like outside of the velvet room and she's controlling the weather.
I'm gonna make it sunny for him.
Yeah.
Oh, unless it gets too hot, then maybe some rain will be nice.
And then she said, "I love you" on the TV, and all the girls are like, "What?"
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
5 did one thing that 3 and 4 never did, and it made me feel for a second that like I was no longer the protagonist, but witnessing the protagonist develop his own sense of self, I guess. And that when you do have that final the final realization that like, oh, the protagonist was planning all of this all along, and he faked his own death and stuff. It occurred to me at that point that me personally playing the protagonist and trying to be friendly and nice and warm to Akechi, I was personally like, Akechi's probably not a bad guy. The protagonist was like this whole time, he's a fucking dick. I'm just gonna be nice to him and let him think he's getting in close. Like it was a complete disconnect in a great way between the protagonist and me as the player. That I don't know, just in some way felt super rewarding.
I don't know if this was as transparent in Persona 3 and 4, but my main issue with the characters and character development in 5 was almost, and this is in JRPGs in general, after you introduce a new character to your story, they kind of fall to the backside as far as development. But it seemed like none of the characters outside like the anime cutscenes and a few scenes in this game were ever talking to each other. It's like they all said their one line about what was going on in the situation with no relevance to what the person in front of them said. Outside of like maybe Futaba making fun of Yusuke a little bit in a cell phone conversation. It was just like, I feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way. New scene, I feel this way, da-da-da. And then that became very repetitive, and I started seeing that over and over in every scene.
I noticed that. It was when the entire group was together, it was kind of like I'm going to say my line. Now I'm going to say my line. And make sure everyone hits their lines off, and then end of scene. Like, it was kind of...
Yeah, they weren't talking to each other. They were just
I mean,
talking.
Ryuji and Ann like, they kind of bantered back and forth, and same with Morgana and Ryuji, and obviously, like you said, Futaba.
Morgana and Ryuji have like, I think, the most banter back and forth, even though it's just shit talking to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, as weird as it sounds, there was a disconnect between the cutscenes, the in-engine cutscenes, as I'll call them, and the cell phone conversations. It felt like two different people wrote those. And some of the cell phone or text conversations were actually, I thought, really funny and really well written. But then you would get a cutscene where everyone's in character model and they talk about things. They're like, okay, just making up something. All right, we're going to get vanilla ice cream, right? Vanilla? Okay, vanilla ice cream. And then you go to the cell phone text conversation. They're like, what flavor should we get?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. Should we do vanilla? Yeah, vanilla sounds good. It's like the ultimate conclusion is reached in both conversations, but it felt like there is just a disconnect between those two.
I think the phone conversations, there was a lot of like shit talking and back and forth stuff with like, Futaba and like how Yusuke, and then worrying about Makoto and like stuff like that. And there's a lot of they're all talking to each other that way, but yeah, you're right. I think it does seem different because it seems like they're just like staging a scene in the engine, but they are actually talking to each other.
Yeah, the better dialogue I feel like was in the chat logs more often than not.
I agree. I felt that even with the other social links, like let's see, when Yoshida would text you, it felt like there was still a little more substance to that than the actual dialogue. Like, it was when you were meeting with one of your social links, for example, like you had the main kind of story where it was, Yoshida wanted to redeem himself, or, An wanted to be a model. And there was like no real connection, it felt. But as soon as you were on like the text messages, like in one, Yoshida was like, hey, I'm relying on you, or please, this is important to me. Can you come to the rally tonight? And I felt like they could have incorporated more of those emotions when progressing the social link, but also in the cutscenes as well.
I completely agree. That's why my favorite social link was the gun store owner, because
he was good too.
He was by far the best. He had the best. His benefits weren't that great, but like, dude, he was like down for you. Like when you had to go to juvenile hall, he went up to his boys and he was like, "Don't let anyone lay a finger on him." You know what I'm saying? Like, he had your back 100%.
What accent was that?
He's Italian, dude.
But I didn't max him out, but that's awesome.
So basically, he's a Yakuza member, ex-Yakuza member, gets into some deep shit, and you got to bail him out.
Now he has to run a toy gun store. I mean, airsoft.
Right. But like, so his link, it just had so much more action and just meaning compared to some of the other ones. So And that's kind of building off your cell phone.
Like in one of your first links, you were basically listening in on a conversation for him. Like,
Yeah, like there's action scenes going on. Like you're a part of this, as opposed to like, I hate Hifumi. So like hers is just like my mom. It's like people telling you what's going on versus like experiencing what's going on. And that's my problem with a lot of the villains in this game is they tell you these are bad people versus showing you they're bad people, which is why the first guy, was it Kamoshida? Yeah. He you get to see him in person while he's a piece of shit versus some of the other ones.
Well, the whole Monorame though wasn't as good as Kamoshida, but
it wasn't trash, but it wasn't like
no, because you cared about Yusuke and his paintings and him, plagiarizing or basically selling Yusuke's paintings and claiming them as his own, and I thought that was really cool. Like, oh, he's in the exhibit right now. Let's go in his palace right now while he's like hanging out in the exhibit. I thought that was really cool because everything else was like, the election is 15 days away. We gotta wait. But I thought it was sweet that we're like in his palace while he's like just like doing something at the exhibit. I thought that was cool.
That totally cements your role as a Phantom Thief. Like you're stealing art. You ultimately steal a piece of art. Like it's a very Phantom Thief thing to do. Like that dungeon still felt really good to me. The third one was Kaneshiro.
Third one was Kaneshiro. Oh, okay. Fourth one was Futaba.
Okay.
And obviously with Futaba, it's like you're not necessarily hunting at a villain. And then after Futaba, you have the burger place, or am I skipping
space?
One? And like we witness that he's an asshole through the eyes of Haru, but not the eyes of the protagonist or your main party. Like, I see the point you're making here.
Well, should we talk about like what our favorite palaces were?
Yeah.
My favorite one was the pyramid with Futaba. So I thought it was cool going outside of it and going to that small town outside of the pyramid, and then rolling in there and doing the light puzzles and going up that long staircase, and then in between that doing those like not hieroglyphics, but whatever, those paintings, puzzles where you had to match them together, which kind of told the story about Futaba, and with her shadow kind of stopping you in between and giving you a little bit more, and then just a batshit crazy fight with her shadow mom, who's like a
sphinx,
just like flying around like huge. Like I loved every single thing about that. Music was dope too.
That one totally takes the cake on like every level, because it also was one of the few stages that you were, at least in my opinion, not supposed to fight enemies at certain places. That is the stage with the Anubis enemy, right?
Oh yeah,
I hated him on you all the time.
No weaknesses.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, so I literally felt like I was Phantom Thieving through that dungeon more than any other one. Because
that was a great enemy. Because I mean, in general, like the game felt pretty easy. That dungeon was great because of him, and the first dungeon I felt like difficulty wise.
It was a shitty enemy in terms of like I didn't want to fight him, but
because you were trying to speed through it in one day. That's what you're
right.
Well,
also, so that's the thing. Like I appreciate the enemy because it drove me to work around him.
He was harder than the bosses.
Run into him.
He was harder than the bosses. Like
if you got unlucky and he ended up chaining attacks on you, you were probably going to die, because at this point, like in every dungeon, I'm underleveled and I didn't buy items until like the last dungeon, when I was like, oh shit, I am not prepared from this from a level standpoint. Can I still go back to the shop? Oh, I can. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite dungeon, Caitlin?
I would honestly have to agree that it's the pyramids too. I felt that, like you were saying, they had the best puzzles in it. And I felt like it was such a smooth transition with unraveling her own story within the palace, and getting to hear kind of her shadow's own input on it, when you have like Kamoshida that's just like, I'm great, that's that kind of thing, where Futaba actually starts to slowly open up.
Yeah, it reminds me of Persona 4 too, in that regard, that Persona 4, you were able to see the inner thoughts, or at least the suppressed thoughts of characters. We saw that here, and it's extremely beneficial in understanding Futaba as a character, and also like growing to appreciate her too.
I have a second favorite, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I really liked the casino one. I liked the music in it. I liked the how you're gambling and everything was rigged, because I tried every single one of them. I don't like an idiot. and that you could use your gambling money and buy items and stuff like that. I thought that was a cool trick. The fight against what's her name? Nijima.
Yeah,
Nijima.
Sai.
That's what I was looking for. Nijima. The fight against Nijima with like the betting and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. It reminded me of like a Tartarus sub boss, one of the Tartarus sub bosses that had the like the red and blue spinning thing, and if it landed on blue, you got the damage, or in red they got the damage, or something like that. I can't remember, but the casino one was probably my second favorite.
I would say Pyramid's going to take second place. I'll give it second for sure. I like the first one a lot because it gave me that Dark Souls feeling when you would unlock a shortcut and kind of cut through back to the beginning.
Oh yeah,
you know, like catch yourself finding that save point,
like the middle, sanctuary.
Yeah.
You can
There's elevators and shit, and yeah, I would give it plus a castle. Man, you get to go in a castle.
Yeah, that was cool.
And castles are sick, Neil. Don't look at me like
And
that.
just to throw another one out there, since we've been saying pyramids, I did like the ship a lot. In particular, the music. I think that was maybe my favorite dungeon soundtrack.
I don't know what mine would be, but yeah, that's good.
Find the right employee.
I loved running into, or like the ultimate conclusion with the hitman, the cleaner, I think it was. I don't remember if you have to kill something before you do that with the cleaner, but basically you get Yusuke to draw something for the cleaner, a new tattoo. And the cleaner is so impressed with it that he just lets you go.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank God I don't have to have a boss fight. Oh shit, now I have to fight Akechi. And then you get to see Akechi in his actual true persona.
That was cool. And I didn't realize I was playing reckless. Like I was doing Keith. I was trying to beat it in one setting, and I had no SP. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm trying to find a safe. Like this has got to be, because you had that fight, or that thing. You thought it was the last fight, and then the Akechi fight starts. Well, I have nobody. I have nothing, and somehow I by the skin of my teeth won it. That fight was so cool. Like with he's like losing his mind. He's got like the crazy black get up going. I thought that was really sweet. I was not ready for it. I did not like the space one.
No, I hated that puzzle.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Everyone hated that puzzle. I think I just got lucky. My run through just like nailed it on the first try. But apparently that's a pretty big issue online. People just not feeling that.
That and the whole let's go make sure this crane arm falls down so you can run across it, and just do that over and
Plus,
over.
this
and
is like
over.
the time of the game where everyone
Yeah.
says they're burnt out. At least in this group, that's how I felt around that time.
The casino is like an instant spurt of energy, but I had a lull there and a lull after the casino.
Same.
We don't have to go too far into it, but like gameplay discussion.
right,
Talking
I'll
about
start it off.
mechanics here.
Let's talk about the battle system. The ambush feature, brand new. How about that, guys? You listen out there, podcast listeners? Yeah. I wasn't feeling that ambush system at all, because then it kind of killed the battle system for me, because you just win the first round every time. It became more like a puzzle game. Just exploit their weaknesses, all out attack, and the enemies never get a turn. And after that first dungeon, that's pretty much the rest of the game, is not even having combat. Just
But isn't it
murking
all
them.
about? Isn't it all about exploiting weaknesses?
Were you playing
Right, no,
hard
it's-
mode?
No, I was playing normal.
Okay. Yeah,
Sorry, I
whatever,
should have
it's
put
cool.
on, not that try hard, dude. I just want to see what well, typically normal on a Shin Megami Tensei game is hard on a normal RPG. So
Yeah, typically.
generally, except this one.
Because like that's
Hating.
like
I know I'm a hater, dude, but just listen up. I think it's a great game. I just want to say that right now. This is a great game.
The ambush system, though, is something that you could have just chosen not to use.
Yeah, I'm not going to self-impose restrictions on myself. I'm going to play the game as it was intended. You're not going to miss an ambush unless you're just messing around. So what I think they should have done was make the ambush
The regular
like a
fight.
regular attack, and then if you get it, you can't even regular attack. You just get jumped straight up. Otherwise, it kills it.
you can
there's
regular
no-
attack, because I fucked up a ambush many times and just
Yeah,
oh, shit.
because you're slipping, dude. You're getting all like weren't cautious at all. It's not hard to ambush any.
You
of the
need to play
games.
merciless. That's what I think you need to do.
Probably.
Or at least hard.
Probably. the way I play these games, because I was super prepared coming into it. Like every dungeon, I'm doing my fusions, and then it's just you wipe the floor, especially late game, not early game. Early game, the first dungeon was super balanced, I thought, but late game is just like, and that also, when I talked about the pacing earlier, that affects the pacing because you're not even being challenged much in the regular fights if you kind of do fusions and whatnot.
But you can also say that you're a pretty hardcore SMT guy,
I mean,
But
he doesn't
you
play Merciless, so hey.
Shit.
no, but what I'm saying is like
I'm saying like normal on Persona 3 versus normal on Persona 5. There's a huge difference in difficulty.
yeah.
Well, 3 also imposed upon, like, in my opinion, one of the worst features of that game was the exhaustion system. I don't know if Fess had it,
Yeah, it
but
did.
you got tired out
Right.
after a while.
It did. But that's why you just have to wait till the last day. Your characters are immune to fatigue. Problem solved. Just saying, dude.
So I actually took the opposite approach with that, where I loved that the ambush system allowed you to just take on mobs or whatever, random battles, whatever you want to call them, in your first turn. Because like they designed the ambush system not as a way to be overpowered, because it's important to point that you don't actually gain a turn. The enemies just get to move at the end of your turns. On hard or merciless, what ends up happening a lot of time is that you get to move, then they move again because they're faster than you. So if you don't kill them, it basically creates this challenge of, if you don't end the battle in one turn, you might be fucked because of critical hits and knockdowns.
Well, yeah, and I noticed the enemies in this game still knock hard, but they just never got their attacks off because they were already murked. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that was my issue with the battle system, especially late game, and that's why it was hard to keep playing.
Yeah, I'm on the complete different stance because I love the ambush.
Of course you are, Neil.
And-
All right, let's hear this out.
And the quality of life changes, assigning different or specific actions to buttons, seems so simple, and it's something that was done with
I
Wild
love how it
Arms.
was streamlined.
Yeah,
The
it just made
system's way
everything
better.
real fast.
Has nothing to do with my criticism.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that for myself. Like, this is the best Japanese RPG style battle system I think I've ever played. Japanese RPG style, not to be mistaken for strategy, turn-based, tactical RPG or anything else. Like, just
Straight up JRPG turn-based.
yeah, straight up classical
You,
JRPGs.
you need to play Shadow Hearts. I'm just saying.
I'll give it a
I've
shot.
been talking to you about this. It's if you like mature characters, dark storylines.
I have to go play
it's like,
Kotelka first, don't I?
You don't even need to play that game. Sorry, let's keep it focused here. Play games John's heard of.
How do you guys feel about the fusion changes for Personas?
I'm gonna go first just to get it out of the way. I barely fused anybody in 3 and 4, and once I figured, I kind of just ran with what was high, what numbers were high, and just kind of went that way. But in 5, just to get the twins maxed out and getting all of those personas done, I finally got to learn a little bit more since I'm new to all these games, and I really liked the different fusions and the fact that you could like kill one and level up another one. Yeah, execute one and then like turn one into an item and stuff like that. I thought that was awesome, and just because I never spent a whole lot of time fusing when I was in the other games, and I just kind of just went all in, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked the being able to itemize the personas too. Did you guys ever do the network fusions? Or like the one that you could do over the internet?
I did like twice, and I got sick personas out of it.
Like sick isn't
like
good, or
10 levels higher than my character.
shit.
Like they were malnourished. Man.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything. No.
That's awesome.
That was
I didn't try
awesome,
that.
though. I think it was cool.
I never did. Like, what was the? I was never connected. Aside from just experimenting with like the schedule thing that you could see, but what was the point behind the network persona or network
trophy?
fusion? Well, yes.
I don't know.
What was it? Just
you
a normal
select one,
fusion?
it's going to die and it'll turn into something else, but it's somehow based on what other people are doing. So I don't know the parameters that they're using to figure out what you get.
Did you, Caitlin?
I did not. I didn't even connect to the Thieves Guild online. I wanted my first playthrough to be solely independent and not having to rely on other people's actions or choices.
Now I'm curious. Like, should I just start playing Persona 5 and continue in my network fusion to only fuse shitty personas to fuck with other people's fusions?
Fuck with the ratio and the algorithm.
It's like, I bet this slime needs to be fused. Oh, let me go
Turns
grab
into
another
Satan.
slime.
Why are you fuming another pixie?
Doctor and Pixie.
I really liked the jail.
Important pixie. Yeah.
Oh, the
how they can
strengthening the
grow-
personas.
Yeah.
And how they can grow
Like,
resistances.
yeah, I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, training was
Yeah.
sick. Everything was improved on gameplay wise with fusions. You can turn them into items, cards, skill cards. Sick, loved it.
I felt really bad about fusing personas though, like having to behead my.
They're struggling. You can see them trying to get out of the guillotine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, dude, come on.
Like, and they're
You
kind of
used
like
me in
they're
the
like
last
slouched
dungeon.
over, and they're like their heads are just kind of like, oh gosh, here we go.
It does make the ultimate fusion of the two wardens ever so powerful though. At the end,
Oh yeah.
I didn't see that coming at all.
Did not at all.
Damn, that was a good twist.
Did you guys notice that? Because I started Persona 5 again just to see, but Lavenza's voice was the voice in the beginning of the game with the butterfly and all that stuff, trying to talk to you.
Yes.
And did you ever, at any point in the game, try and lay down on your bed in the cell?
No.
Because if you do, I don't know if you can do it right away, because I only tried like way late in the game. If you lay down in the bed, Lavenza talks to you.
Really?
Yeah.
What did she say?
Oh.
I don't remember. I think it's more motivating
Like,
things.
you need to
like,
save me or save everybody.
Like,
but
you
she
must
means,
continue. You must see through to the truth. Damn,
that's awesome.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it was really rewarding because I did it during Shido's dungeon, like either before or during the casino or something. And I was just like, what the fuck am I missing from this plot? Like, there's something
something's
here.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's great.
So like
I'm
when
gonna
my
try that next time.
and when my girlfriend was playing, like not long after, I was just like, hey, Tiff, can you examine the bed?
Lay there.
And she does, but then instead of getting the option to lay down, the angrier warden, oh God, I can't think of her name now. Whatever. The
Caroline
angrier-
and Justine.
Justine, yeah. Justine is like, hey, inmate, don't do that.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part
Let's
of the game.
not do that tonight.
When you found out that Igor was not Igor, and then they merged into Lavenza. That, man, I love that part. That's so good.
And then the freeing of Igor, it was so fucking gratifying.
Yeah.
I like how they reincorporated the negotiation tactic into the
I like
game.
that.
So you're
Yeah.
actually talking to the demons and not just killing shadows.
And they have their own personalities, and you have to try to figure them out, or go online and find
Right.
yeah.
Definitely less frustrating than 2. Remember how you had to negotiate in 2 and you're just like,
Innocent
What the
Sin's
hell, dude?
negotiation was fucking fine because everyone had their individual controls. But when you went to Eternal Punishment, where you could only combo and solo negotiate, that was fucking hard
For
because
real.
it limited your ability to negotiate down. Like Persona 5's negotiations, I completely,
it was clean.
yeah, it was
good.
really clean. It just straight up, you get like some text and a response. And I think that did perfectly fine. And they made a great decision doing that instead of going back to Persona 1 or the 2s where it's like, oh, let's go interact with an enemy. I'm going to do a magic trick. Woo! And that's all you do, by the way. Like, magic is the best way to get any Persona card in that game, or the equivalent of a Persona card. Yeah, and especially for that matter, too. I was so fucking glad to be done with generic shadows and actually fight the demons themselves, or quote unquote the persona, the personae themselves. Just like all the other SMT games, like I know it may seem for like new fans to be lazy to have your personas also be your enemies, but that's kind of been like a standard of the SMT games. And I think it's equally as lazy to have a picnic table with a mask on it.
I think that's awesome, actually. So, of course, we're going to disagree on that, wouldn't we, Neil?
Or like a castle with with a mask on it.
Yeah. Or like basically any object with a mask on it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a fucking bucket with a mask on it. I bet I could use lightning because it's water. Wait, what? It's immune? What the fuck is this bullshit?
No, repel, dude.
Yeah, I can't really say too much about this topic because haven't played very many RPGs, but the battle system is just like you can just mow through people if you wanted to, or you could take your time and really strategize. And all that stuff. And it's just like there's so many options. Like when you beef up the social link with the kid, like you can just pop, 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 just unload on someone before it starts, and like how if you mess up an interrogation, like An will come in and flirt with them and start it back over again. Like just all that, how the social links came into that battle system. Because like truthfully, the only RPGs I've ever played are Persona 3, 4, 5, and Super Mario RPG, and and the way that they've improved it all by each game, I just thought it was awesome, and you could really just get in a groove. It's almost like a rhythm game. You're just kind of just like bam, bam, bam.
That music.
Yeah.
And speaking of that music, man, this fucking soundtrack was killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I won't argue with you there. I'll agree with you on that one.
Top to bottom, it was all solid.
A bit before the podcast, we talked about like listening to some of the tracks when the soundtrack was leaked. I don't even know if it was leaked. I guess it might have released in Japan first, and then
then they ripped them off the disc and put them up on Reddit.
I personally wasn't vibing with the few tracks I was listening to before, and I don't know what it was. Like I listened to the battle music in particular, and I was just like, man, this doesn't have shit on Persona 4's. Like maybe it's a little worse than 3. I'm not a big fan of mass destruction.
Fuck you, Neil.
Baby,
Wow,
baby,
dude.
baby, baby.
You're not a fan of creativity. You're not a fan of innovation,
mass
dude.
destruction.
Do you realize how different that is compared to every generic RPG that's been coming out in that era, especially PS2, which was littered with them? They come on with this unique battle theme with fucking trumpets and shit. Fuck you. Keep going.
I'd give it a 7.
Wow, dude. What's a fucking 10 to you?
Last surprise.
Game.
Oh, is that the Gatekeeper one?
No,
With the guitar?
that's Persona 5.
I bet it's whack.
No, it's... So I wasn't a big fan of Last Surprise, the battle music from Persona 5, when I heard it for like the first time using like a YouTube link or something. But when I got it in the middle of a battle in Persona 5, which I don't even know if it's one of your first battles with Morgana, but I just remember hearing it and just thinking like, oh my God, I understand. Like it's clicking.
I understand.
And now like I just want it to be my alarm in the morning. The you'll never see it coming part specifically right there. I was like lukewarm to it, but as I was playing this game, this soundtrack I think has done the best job out of the 3 modern Persona games, or any of the Persona games, because technically Shoji Meguro's worked on all of them, at matching the themes and getting the music to feel extremely appropriate. Like the album as a whole isn't as high energy as Persona 4, but it was never meant to be. It's meant to be chill. It's meant to be like relaxing at moments, and then also like unnerving at times too. Like you did not get those same emotions from 3 and 4.
I would say maybe I was talking about this the other day. It was like a barbecue test. Like you could play the Persona 5 soundtrack like in the background of having a party, and people would be like grooving to it and stuff like that. And now there's certain songs you can on 3 and 4, but there's also certain songs on 3 and 4 that you can't play at a party. Like you're just like, what the hell is this
Like
shit?
the battle theme from 4.
Yeah. Like you can literally vibe
Take
out.
the aux cable from you quick.
Yeah. Like you could put
Go to Parliament.
yeah, you go to the bar and play like I don't know if Mass Destruction would fit like at a party. I mean, it's an iconic song.
I don't think any of these songs would fit at a party.
I think
I
think
think
that
a lot of them from 5 would.
the fusion like the fusion jazz
What
stuff.
parties are you going to?
No, like I'm just talking like background
People are
music.
dressed up in costumes, not a big deal.
Like if you're putting
Whatever,
on like
dude.
the like we were just listening to it before the start of the which was one of my favorite tracks, was the gun airsoft shop.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Like you can put that in the background of having a party at the house and people won't even ask a question. You put the battle theme from 4 on and people are like, what is this?
You put any of the non vocal music on 5, like if a band is playing it at like a jazz bar or something, you'd be like, oh yeah. This seems
I
appropriate.
think all the soundtracks are killing, and they're all different from each other.
It's true.
5 is definitely more live instrumentation, not like programmed drum sounds. 3 is totally drum program sounds. 4 had the best piano ballads,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I always found myself humming Beneath the Mask, especially the Rain version.
Ooh, yeah.
It always got stuck in my head.
That's my favorite track on the new soundtrack.
That might be one of my favorite tracks of all of the games.
What about Deserts in the Sea?
Oh, are you talking about Futaba's one?
That's a good one too.
I was thinking of I mixed up the words, but river in the desert.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
It's Shido's boss theme.
Oh, that one was good.
And like the hook, it's funny because the hook is actually a river in a dry land.
River in a dry land. Yeah, you're right.
River in a dry land. Dun, 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 dun.
Didn't that song get you amped up as soon as you've put that calling card out there and it's like, let's go? Then the bam bam
Yeah.
dam, dam, like you just want to like get like you feel invincible.
Oh, there are so many great tracks in that game.
What I wish to happen in 5 is what they did in 3 and 4 is when you had the last month in the game, like the January in 3, like when all the beats got this weird like down tempo, like melancholy like stuff, like people are
It's the shit.
passing out on the street. You see those Knicks flyers everywhere. And then in 4, this the Snowflake song, I think that might have been in Golden, yeah. But I would have liked kind of a, looming beat or something like that would kind of switch things up. But I wasn't mad at it because like that, like the nighttime beat was one of my favorite tracks ever, and I can listen to that over and over and over and not get tired of it.
Yeah, I wish they kind of did something then for mementos. You know how in Persona 3, when you went through Tartarus, like the music just, they would bring out something, like maybe play the bass a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wish
Every
they
every
did
block,
that
yeah.
With the metaverse.
Yeah,
They
you're
should.
right. Yeah, that Metaverse track was awesome though.
But yeah, that makes sense. And it wouldn't have been hard to make variations of it either.
No, because it's just the chord progression and drums.
And you had the color scheme change too, so you
That
could
was
always just do it with that,
I liked that. We haven't talked about the Mementos yet, but just to sidetrack, Mementos just felt like Tartarus to me, and I thought it was awesome. Like you had Tartarus right here, you had these new palaces over here. Do both.
Yeah, it wasn't the only thing you were doing either, which was one of my biggest complaints about Persona 3. Like, it is a thing that is there that you can do at any time, but you don't have to progress the story until
Yeah, if you feel like grinding one night and just go in there and run around, run into the Reaper real quick.
and you get to fucking ride your Morgana car /van /truck, whatever. Like, I don't know. I appreciated that.
You can
a
see
lot, the
Anne,
humor.
Lady On, to like talk about her boobs bouncing on the truck, and like
Yeah.
like the dialogue between everyone while they're riding in the thing was awesome.
Exactly. Another standpoint, because I feel like whoever wrote that also wrote the text messages.
Yeah.
That color banter was great.
Yeah, it was a great way to flush them out a little bit more.
Like
I always
UCK's
opened a door when they were talking and it would cut off the
It-
voice.
yeah,
and
it
they shouldn't
depressed
have
me.
put that
I
in
didn't
there.
like that. Yeah.
That was a stupid programming decision.
After I screwed it up twice, at that point, I was just like, whenever banter happens,
I'm
just
getting
stop.
chased.
Stop
I
in the
don't
car.
care, dude.
Stopped.
I'll get attacked.
Because like
whatever.
it happened like every time you turned a corner, but when you turned a corner, there was a good chance you're either hitting somebody or you're done. And so it's like, oh my gosh, this place looks like you're out of the car.
I'm going to tell you my biggest secret.
Yeah.
I like how they put collectibles all over the ground to pick up.
Yeah.
Kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles. There's just that way to keep moving and still reward yourself for playing it. We're so spoiled now. I can't
True.
even walk around in the game. Give me some items, bitch.
We're gonna make Kawakami needs to do some laundry tonight.
You know, I completely forgot when we were talking about pacing that I wanted to read an email that I've actually had for like a month now or something. So we got this quite a while back and there was no signature on it, or at least nothing signed, so I can't say names. The email's real short and simple. Hello, Fancy Ramen. I just finished P5 myself, but I can't help but feel the end of the game was rushed. Considering P3 had Fess and P4 had Golden, does that mean we should expect a P5 Crimson down the road?
Like Rush, probably because they threw in that
The God stuff at the end.
post-Shido content.
You think that was thrown in after the fact?
Well, it felt rushed because I think you have this one antagonist, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and we have a whole new story and plot. And it's almost like Shido didn't matter because you defeat Shido, and then it's like, oh, his cronies are keeping the job going.
Well, it kind of when they announced the God stuff, they said there was 2 players. It was Akechi and you, and then like Akechi died, and you still beat Shido. So like, what was Shido's thing in this?
Exactly.
And
So I would actually think it would have been really cool if Shido was also the god, the evil god, in human form, and you couldn't defeat him by normal means, and then you had to go through mementos to change the people's will.
Do you think it's likely
could've
that
tied
they
it in.
retcon that in an additional game version though? Because I don't
know
think
where
they've
else
ever
they could
gone
go.
that
There's
far.
no, it's closed. Like,
yeah, you
there's
can't
closure.
fight Igor again because Igor, he was the god. Like Lavenza, she's off doing her thing too. So like, there's really not much to do.
I think they might expand on it. Not that it needs more content.
I think there's one elephant in the room. Actually, before I say anything, Caitlin, did you have any thoughts?
Honestly, I didn't like as far as the gameplay went and the time. I guess the timing of it. I don't feel that the ending was rushed at all or kind of thrown together last minute. I mean, there was so many times where they had pushed back the release date anyway, so I feel like they were satisfied with what they gave the public as a game. I feel like they'll start to add additional stuff, such as with like Persona 4 Golden. They just added extra content along, like you guys go on a skiing trip, stuff like that. But as far as the whole storyline goes, there's not really much you can build off of it. It's pretty case closed, like you guys were saying.
So I'm not satisfied with Akechi. And
We didn't see him die on screen.
Yeah,
He didn't die on screen.
That's right.
right. And in Persona 4,
Oh, that's true.
they throw that whole extra dungeon with Maria and the snow trip in one of the months that you more or less glance past. And you happen to be in jail for about a month at the end of Persona 5.
That Maria
month,
part was
maybe
really
2.
cool too.
I will say
That's
though,
a
like
good point.
Persona 5 had one of the most satisfying endings in a game I've played in a long time.
Yeah,
Just overall, like
your friends
it was
fucking
over.
drive
Like it
with you,
felt
yeah.
good. Like I was like, all right, cool. The only thing they could add was maybe the courtroom scene in like an AMV or something,
Right. And
rather than
maybe
just telling you, because there's a lot of plot going towards that. I don't know what else they could really add.
No, I'd agree with you
post-content.
too. Like, I can't pretend to know what they felt was rushed. But if it's anything,
Yeah,
maybe it's
yeah.
the lack
It's
of the
the plot
court scene.
twist. It's probably got to be the plot twist.
the plot twist being,
Igor.
oh,
I don't know.
well, I mean, but there are aspects of that you can't fix. Like
Yeah.
the lines we had of Igor were ones that they had recorded before he died for Persona 3 and 4. It was like backlog. Yeah, Akechi, we didn't technically see him die, and it seems like they really just were like, well, I guess he's dead. Let's not talk
I
about
was kinda
Akechi
surprised.
ever
I
again.
thought he would come back. At some
Right.
point.
So I feel like there's
Yeah,
got to be
you're-
some resolution there. We don't get to see the court scenes or anything implicating Shido. I may be crazy, and I don't necessarily think they intentionally did this, but I think and like they designed the game knowing they would do this, but I think they got real close to their deadline, realized that they were not near done to the game, and
That's what I
decided
thought happened.
we need to push this and maybe we'll finish it later. Like this is something that is not essential to the plot and resolution of the game. But if we end up revisiting it, if the game sells well, which it has sold fantastically,
They bring out a glove. Doesn't fit.
doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit.
Now we have to find the true glove that Shido used.
Yeah.
See, I initially thought that if there was going to be DLC, they would have just added more mementos. This is before I beat it. They were just going to add a different section of mementos, and then mementos ended up being this whole different thing. But
Yeah, it turned out to be something you had to go through.
you had to go through, yeah. So like, I thought that would have been like the easy way out. It's like, oh, here's your DLC for $6.99. There's just another 10 floors of mementos, and there's you could put another Akechi fight down there. Like if Akechi's still alive, you can be like, well, he's down at the depths, the double depths of mementos. You have to get him there.
Right. Well, like we don't even know if you die in the metaverse, does your body show up someplace? Because you
Yeah.
would think it would need to for it to be consistent with 3 and 4. But these games aren't necessarily that consistent with each other to begin with in certain plot limits. I just think there is a lot of circumstantial evidence that points to the fact that Akechi may not be dead.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even ponder that, but yeah, I could see that being an extra thing added on. I would like to mention how awesome it was about the scenery and location design. They basically took certain areas of Tokyo and replicated them within the game, and I would be fascinated to hear Japanese players' responses to see like if they even like walk through those certain areas on a regular basis and then see that incorporated into a game. And I wonder if that just makes it more unique in a sense, or more authentic. Well, of course authentic, but I thought it was really cool how they did, especially the back streets, like to a T, where like the bathhouse and the laundromat was, or Cafe LeBlanc.
I know nothing about Japan, but it all seemed really, really like true to what it would have been, and the whole tram station and stuff like that. You can literally, if you wanted to, this is also sidebar. I felt at a point in time when I was playing Persona, I kind of felt that I was like not immersed because fast travel was so easy. And like if you wanted to, you could walk from one tram station to the other, get on that subway and go all the way up to, the Shibuya or whatever. And you can do whatever if you wanted to, but you can fast travel all that. But I really liked that there was this terminal and all that stuff inside of there.
Caitlin provided us with a link to a Kotaku article that basically brings a bunch of Twitter pictures of people showing like in-game shots with the real world shots, and they're literally identical. What's also interesting is that Katsura Hishino, the director, and this is part of the same IGN article I noted before, noted that he really wasn't familiar with Tokyo, even like having moved there a while ago. So I think it kind of shows that like your initial play in Persona 5 is very much one of a person that is unfamiliar with Tokyo, getting kind of lost in the tram station or the subway station. Like I was for a while just looking up at the signs, like where the fuck is Shibuya?
Straight real though, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how it is.
And he was talking about how like he in some sense wanted to make this game reflect that feeling of a person moving in from the country. Like where essentially 3 and 4 are both in the country. 3 is like a remote port island. 4 obviously Inaba. Mm-hmm. And I think they did a beautiful job just giving you this overwhelming sense that, as you said, if you didn't use the fast travel, you'd have to kind of make mental notes to yourself of like, okay, I got to turn here, go in there. Like, this is my route to get to the main street. This is my route to like get to the underground shopping area quicker. Like everything's connected in a logical yet illogical way that feels really realistic.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, before we get to the final question, my final thoughts is it's my favorite Persona.
Yeah, scales, numbers, 1 out of 10, 0 out of 10.
I played 4 Golden first, and then I went back and played 3 Fest, and then I played 5. I just like how it built upon the previous 2 that I played, and made everything just like streamlined better. Like the gameplay was better, the mechanics were better. It made the social links actually gave you reasons to do them, like the as you leveled up and got skills from them. It was darker than Persona 3. It wasn't as Persona 4. It had more people to talk to, and I just thought it's just my personal favorite, and I really enjoyed it. So I'd probably give it I don't know, this is the first time I've ever given a rating to a game, but I would probably give it a 10.
Perfect.
Well, okay.
Okay, it's a 10.
I don't know. I don't rank games. I'm on the spot, nervous.
What's up, Caitlin? What do you think?
I actually really like Persona 3. That was the first game I started out playing. So I feel like it's a nostalgic thing that keeps me just being like, is it still in my number 1 spot, or did Persona 5 take over? But if I hadn't had such a deep connection with Persona 3, I would say Persona 5 by far takes the cake on being my favorite game in the series. I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Solid. Neil?
I came here thinking 9.5, but after all of your talking,
Goddamn.
all of your points,
I didn't even
Keith,
say half the points I wanted to make.
Yeah, I know, but I think I'm down to a 9, like a 9 out of 10.
That's a great score.
It's a great score.
Yeah, but I mean, up until the 75% mark, it was a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, it was really polarizing for me, having like gotten maybe 25% of the way through Breath of the Wild, which that felt like a 10 out of 10 for me. And then I started playing Persona 5 because it came out. And just a whole different type of... And granted, when I say 10 out of 10, I don't think it's a perfect game. I think it's just a necessary game. Like 10 out of 10 does not mean perfection. What it means is like a necessary play or something I could recommend to anyone.
Or your thorough enjoyment of it.
right.
Or Snake Eater.
Or Metal Gear Solid
Snake
4.
Eater is above 10 out of 10. That game is perfection in every
I'm gonna-
way.
32, bro. 32.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
But so like
Shut up.
halfway through Persona 5, I was dreading the feeling of wanting to stop. I mean, like of finishing Persona 5 and not wanting it to stop, and also not wanting to stop playing it. I slammed through this game so not like fast, intentionally fast, although like at the end I was kind of rushing it just because I wanted to get my girlfriend to be able to play it. But like I don't think I've ever felt that way before. But just like the more points you've brought up and the ending for me, or specifically those two lulls, I think drop it down to a 9 for me.
Got you. If we had to compare it to 3 or 4, I'd rank it as Persona 3's. That's number 1 for sure. No doubt about it. That is one of the best JRPGs ever made. If you look at a JRPG, what do you want? A great storyline and a good battle system at the end of the day. And I feel like that is the king of the series, and it can't be topped yet. It'll happen, though. 5 is still a fantastic game. I love that it's darker than 4. I thought 4 was too...
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, a little too much estrogen in that game. I don't know. but at the same time, I would give Persona 4 like an 8.7, and I'd give Persona 5 an 8, but I still like Persona 5 more than 4. I don't know how that makes sense.
Yeah,
don't shake your
know
head
either.
at me, dude. It makes sense to me. All right, because the things about Persona 5 that are great are so much better than everything else. The things that are bad about it just kill it as far as the enjoyment. So it's kind of a conflicting like-hate for the game, which I don't want to have because and I feel like in general, people were like, 5 is the shit because it's been so long since a great JRPG has come out. And they won't acknowledge the flaws that are in this game that were not present in the other two, but it also does a lot of things better than the other two.
I think some of the flaws that you brought up were totally present in 3 and 4. If you want to call it participation, if you will, or like the motivation to move, 3 is the weakest in the fact that you move into town, you get woken up, and now you're expected to put your life on the line to fight these shadows. Like there is absolutely no way to show
hour of time where everyone is in a freaking coffin, bro. Like, what are you gonna do? You gotta survive.
I mean, it depends how you play the game or like how you want your protagonist to like interact or react, In a lot of ways, I think I enjoy the Persona 3 movies more than the game storyline, if that makes sense.
But you also like Teddy as a character. So like,
Yeah. Okay.
what does that say? Like,
I'm going to say this because I played these games in the last year and a half. I don't have any sort of nostalgic or any sort of like...
don't say I have nostalgia for 3.
You
It is
might.
legit.
You might.
No,
though.
I don't.
You might.
Shut your mouth because I watch
might.
gameplay videos on YouTube and I feel good.
But
All right, go ahead.
so I've played all these in the last year and a half, and I started with Golden because I had a Vita, and I thought it was awesome. I got into this game because Keith was telling me to play Persona 3 for years and years and years, and I finally had a Vita, and I downloaded it. Actually, Dang It and Rappa got me into it too because they said it was kind of like a. Which I don't know.
Those people were full of shit,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
like
it's fine.
they're both really good series.
But I loved Persona 4. I was like, oh, this is cool. Played Persona 3 fast, and you gain a lot more respect for Persona 3 because they went. You could tell from if you do a little research how revolutionary how 3 was. Like this, it's not even like it's different. It's the day to day. It's the life sim / this. And then after playing that, which I loved playing it, playing 5, I just thought it took everything that was good with 4 and 3 and just built upon it. And my main knock on 4 was that it was too happy, and I don't like Teddy. And my main knock
That's not very nice.
my main knock on 3 was that you couldn't, and this is strictly from playing 4 before it, was that in which I can't really knock on it, was that there's only like 4 or 5 social links, or like your whole party. You couldn't social link your entire party. And I wish he could have. I wish I could have known more about those guys, and which obviously they thought that was you needed to, and that's why they did it in 4, and that's why after 4 they're like, let's make these social links more important and affect your battles too. So like that's why I'm just living in the hype, and 5 is my favorite because it just took everything that was good from both of them. And
this is going to be really relevant. Except I have to have a little interlude here. But everyone talks a lot of hype about the Persona 3 cast, and I understand certain characters. There's some, as Scott puts it.
We know Ken sucked, all right? We know Ken wasn't the best character.
Okay, so one of my favorite
Ken
characters
does
in
suck.
Persona 3
it was
is...
just a small period of the game, and at least the characters actually had conversations with each other, unlike 5, John.
Persona 3 has Akihiko.
Did you even read the
Sorry,
text messages?
My bad, dude.
Akihiko is cool. I like Akihiko. But in Scott's words, not towards Akihiko, but another beloved character of mine, he's kind of like cardboard. Like his motivation...
Akihiko, compare that, but Junpei, all right.
Junpei's conflicted. Yeah,
Junpei
I get
is one
that.
of the best side characters in general. Like,
but he's
top
also
5.
a douchebag.
He's not a douchebag at all.
Okay. So
Junpei's Believe It or Don't is more interesting than anything that ever happened in Persona 4.
we're getting to the most heated discussion coming up right now.
That's how Neil and I talk. I'm sorry, everyone.
Catherine from Lawrence wrote this a couple weeks ago, actually, and the email is, "Hello, Fancy Ramen Podcast. Persona-related questions. After I finished Persona 5, I immediately started to familiarize myself with Personas 3 and 4. I can't get over how many awesome characters exist in these games. If you could make an all-star team of Persona characters, who would be in it?" And I'm imposing upon the rule of, like, if we're going by Persona 3, 4, 5 rhetoric here, it's 4 party members and 1 support character.
Well, who wants to go
Teddy.
first?
You're going to say Teddy.
I'm not going to say Teddy.
Yes, you are. All right. Go for it, Neil.
Okay, support character, Futaba. Not only from a gameplay standpoint, but a story standpoint, I think she's the most likable character, but she also can cast Heat Riser on your entire team.
Word.
It's fucking great.
She's got a UFO, man.
I'm going to pick everyone in before my protagonist, so to speak. I'm going to include a protagonist because I kind of defaulted into that. First character, Akechi.
Oh.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
He has an awesome skill set. My only caveat is if he could wear his Loki outfit instead of the Robin Hood one, because that Robin Hood one is gaudy.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's like, oh, fuck. Red mask nose thing. At first I was like, why does he have the Igor nose?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah.
Second character, Aegis, and pre-Fess Aegis. Like, I'm ignoring that ever happened.
Right.
I think, like, Aegis is a weaponized shadow-destroying robot, android, whatever. Although, technically, if she destroys shadows, is she useful in Persona 5? Because they're technically not pure shadow. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
She'll kill them, too.
Yeah. My third, Kanji Tatsumi.
Yeah.
He doesn't get enough love. I think he's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite character in that game.
And my fourth, actually, if I use Aegis as my protagonist, then my fourth would be Naoto. Not necessarily for story, because I think her character gets butchered in
Persona was tough.
Her skills were sick.
Yeah, awesome skills.
She was sick.
Cool character design, too. I like
Yeah,
that.
you got a few of them that are on mine, too. So I'll just go next. I wrote down, this is going to be funnier this way, so I'm just going to write down my stream of consciousness on what I wanted.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, he just pulled out a small book I've never seen before.
A
It looks like
leather-bound journal.
Looks
Yeah.
some sort of journal.
I had to dust it off. So 5 was Futaba, is for my support. She's like, not your forced love interest like Rise, not lame like Fuka, Mom's backstory and the boss fight. Her connection with Shojiro, her badass palace, her persona was dope. Antisocial, nerd being reintroduced into society was a good storyline. So that's why I picked her. 4, I got to go with Lady On. Dude, her friend tries to commit suicide and she's blackballed into hanging out with
I already feel bad for not putting her in my 5.
Like-
now. Shit.
Fox suit and the whip. It's pretty cool. Not as tragic backstory as Yukari. More interesting than Chie and Yukiko. Essential in party because her fire attacks were sick. 3 was Kanji. I would say the most well-written and complex character in Persona 4. Daddy issues, feminine interests, and awesome Zeo attacks. Chair as a weapon. He's got the jacket that's over his shoulders. And he's not your typical buddy like Yosuke, Junpei, and Ryuji. And the Sauna TV room. Everyone remembers the Sauna TV Midnight Channel thing. Because like when you watch the video and he's like, yeah. So my number 2 would be Makoto, because she was who I romanced. She was the down-ass chick. She's a better version of Mitsuru.
Agreed.
When she was sneaking around and investigating you. Do you remember that? When she's following you guys around?
That's hilarious how she just has up the magazine.
Yes.
She's awful.
She's Sei's sister, and the student council blackmail with the SIU guy. She had a badass awakening in the bank palace.
Yeah, that fuck, I forgot how good that scene was.
And then she brought the motorcycle out and the fist of justice and all that crazy. Like she's just a badass, like right out the gate.
And she looks even cooler or as cool with her non-motorcycle persona. Like I was skeptical when I was like, wait, where's the bike? Just as good.
And she had awesome healing abilities, which made me get rid of Morgana, which is good because I didn't want him in there.
Right.
And the nuke ability was great. So my top one is Aegis. And she is probably the most iconic character in Persona, in my opinion. She's your main character protector. She slowly becomes more human. She cares for the team and the dog, takes him on walks.
That's a good fucking point there.
Yeah.
Koromaru support. Yeah.
She's got a weird robot sense of humor, and she's got tough physical attacks, and then I put in underlines that ending though.
Right.
So that's what mine were.
Well, that's tough to follow up. Brought a journal out. All right, I guess I'm up. Let's see. First up, if we're going one main protagonist out of 3 through 5, I gotta go with 5. Reasons obviously said earlier. Got your teacher in a maid costume. I'm just being honest. I'm telling you guys how I feel, and that's how I feel. So we got Persona 5 main character. Spoke about this earlier with Neil when he decided to disagree for no reason. Was Junpei. Definitely well-written character. By far the best bro you could ever get in video games in general. You go through phases.
He hated you, then he liked you.
He liked you, and that's friendship, man.
Yeah.
That's deeper than freaking Ryuji or whatever that dude from Persona 4 was. And it's hard to pick the next 2. But I'm going to go with Aegis, not for her skills, but for her ending in Persona 3, when you're like laying your head down in her lap and she actually learns to start crying as a robot. Doesn't mean anything. She's a robot.
Could have been gasoline.
Dude, she's leaking. All right, out of her eye sockets, bro. And you reach up, you tell her it's going to be all right if you want. Man, one of the most memorable endings of any game. So Aegis is obviously in there, even though I didn't even use her in my squad. I'm putting her in just for storyline purposes. And 4, I don't give a fuck. Kanji, that's fine.
What about your support? Who would be?
My Futaba for sure, dude. Definitely the coolest one of them. Reasons you said, she actually benefits your party, makes it even easier, and she tries on a saucer.
Yeah,
it's bad. That's bad.
And she's like, buffs coming your way. Like she's not even trying to.
Dude,
hide
she hit me
either.
with so many charges on like matches I didn't even need them in. I'm like, all right, cool.
I guess I'm just gonna attack.
Because I won this one.
Doing a good
that's
job.
my top.
Yeah.
What about you, Caitlin?
I think first choice, I'm going to have to go with the protagonist from Persona 5.
Harry
He's a
Potter.
great character. Also, Harry
I
Potter.
said Harry Potter.
Yeah. Oh, no.
You ruined it.
Makoto. I loved having her in my party for the Almighty and nuclear damage. And she's also a good backup healer.
Yeah.
Yukiko Amagi as a healer and magic dealer.
Strong.
She did have good magic.
Ryuji probably as a tank and a physical attack. And Futaba for support, but I was so on edge about this because I don't know how many times I can hear bona fide in a fight and be okay with her.
Word.
Knocked him right off your feet.
I was
That would be my dream team.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I don't think there was a single character I didn't like their voice in English, but you're right. Like she was fine in all of her normal voice lines, but some of her lines did get a little, redundant, especially because if you're ambushing everyone, you're going to be using the same character, usually the protagonist, if you're playing on hard or merciless, to knock down, the enemy team so you don't fucking get one hit and get a game over. So you hear a lot of the same two lines over and over and over.
Did any of you guys get that trophy? The Futaba trophy of the 250 lines?
Oh, I have all my notifications turned off.
So,
for recording purposes, so I never see my trophies.
I got that shit because I'm not good. So like I hear everything.
You're on fire.
Yeah. How are you on fire this early? Like, no. Why'd you die this fast? Like, stuff like that.
Man, oh God, now I just want to play this game more.
Hell yeah.
Though, just to kind of cap things off, Keith, you brought up something like, one day there'll be a Persona game better than Persona 3. We don't technically know that. And Katsura Hashino is no longer part of P Studio. He's the director of 3, 4, 5. He also did some work on the previous Persona games, but he's gone on to make, I think it was Zero Studio. I don't have the interview and article that kind of details this, but he's no longer part of the Persona team.
It doesn't go well. I mean, you look at what happened to Final Fantasy after they lost their boy, Sakaguchi.
That was after
shit.
Final Fantasy 8 or 9?
After 9.
Okay.
Or after 10, excuse me. After 10.
Really? I'm surprised.
Wasn't he on that?
10's, well, I mean, I'm not disbelieving
Well,
you, but
he was part of the company then.
10 was still like just a very big shift from 9 in a lot of ways. I'm not even talking about mechanics, but like that's a whole separate thing.
Right.
The team as we know it, Shoji Meguro and Soejima-san, why did I say san? The art director and composer are still part of Atlas. And while they're also working on the title that Hashino is working on called Project Re-Fantasy, being a composer and a art director, they're likely going to be playing just as important a role in Persona 6 should that happen.
But he's still within the company, so he's still going to have some sort of creative oversight in some direction or some way.
Maybe.
And Sojiro,
It really seemed from the interview that Katsura Hashino really wanted to let the now established veterans on the team take over so he could focus on a fantasy-driven game instead.
Just like Kojima did after Metal Gear Solid 1. He's like, I'm not doing another one. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm doing another one.
But you look at Metal Gear Solid, Kojima's gone. That franchise is dead.
It's dead, yeah.
They're going to keep releasing titles, but...
Or the guy from Resident Evil, he left after 3, and then they came out with 4, which was like their most critically successful one.
Wait, who was... I thought Shinji Mikami was part of RE 1, 2, 3, and all the other things, and then did 4 before he left.
I thought he left before 4, but maybe I'm wrong.
But to also establish that same point, Shinji Mikami went on to make Vanquish, which is, if you guys haven't played it,
I've heard it's awesome.
It's stellar. But then he also made The Evil Within, which is critically unsuccessful.
Great game.
I liked it. Yeah, I think that game's fucking awesome.
Fucking love that
second
game.
one looks awesome too.
Yeah.
I just kind of bring that up because with Katsura Hashino, who was literally the guy that orchestrated this big change from previous SMT and Persona games to what Persona 3 was, and also to give some insight, he was a co-director on Nocturne, which I still think is the best SMT core game. And Nocturne is completely different from the other games too, in setting, and it's completely different from Persona. Nocturne is a horrific setting. This guy is a genius.
I have played the beginning of that.
Yeah, it's such a completely different mood. quite frankly, when I read this article, like part of me just, I don't know, started to get kind of sad for the future of Persona. And I know that's really early to do, but
See, I have faith because everything Atlas does is usually killing. Even if it's not a Shin Megami Tensei title, every RPG they've ever dropped in the last 15 years has been solid.
what other RPGs do they do that aren't SMT based?
Radiant Historia,
I thought they just published that.
they're remaking it, and it was a DS title. Dude, remember on PS1, brought over Tactics Ogre?
Fuck, they did publish it too. Or I mean, develop it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's a reliable company. You don't need to worry about it. So I think it'd be... I feel like, I don't know, after 5, I feel like they need to do something to freshen up.
Do you want to see a game that's not Life Simulator? It certainly
It'll still
seems
be
like
Life
this is the
Simulator.
least Life Simulator of them. I mean, no, it really isn't. But like it really has shifted a lot from 3. What do you see changing?
I want to see what the new SMT 5 is that's coming out on next gen consoles. I want to see what they do with that, and then I want to see how they're going to do.
We'll see it in like 3 years.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, we got the announce at I don't remember when.
Was the Switch announcement? It was the first one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that means, okay, we've started thinking about it. Luckily, our CG team threw together a teaser.
Remember Jack Frost? I remember.
What are your thoughts, Kaylin?
I feel like high expectations are being placed to follow up such a great game, but now they essentially have blueprints to come up with a very savvy Persona 6 game. I mean, like we had stated before, they took great things about Persona 3 and Persona 4 and really developed them in Persona 5, and I feel that if they kind of play off of that a bit, they're in a good direction, but as far as storyline goes, we will see.
Dun, dun, dun.
Final thoughts? I mean, I think we've gone through everything at this point that we need to. We've more than doubled the amount of time of a normal episode in the process too.
Yeah, that's needed to happen.
Fun.
So
Yeah, I have to ask one thing though. Is it pronounced Persona Fes, not FES? Because I've been pronouncing it wrong for a long time then.
I don't know
I don't
if there's
care.
I just said FES.
yeah.
What is it? You've been saying FES?
I think I've done both before.
well,
Maybe
isn't
not
it short
today,
for
but
festival?
maybe?
I think it is.
I don't know.
Or should we actually be saying Fesu? Fesu. Persona.
You never see it coming.